Oregon is going to be a force yet again in the world of college football here in 2025. And we got an anonymous coach talking about them potentially being in the mix to win a national championship in 2025. Now, they lose a lot, but check out this quote. The coach speaks to that. He says, "This is a reload, not a rebuilder. Oregon is one of the elite talent evaluating programs in the country. They're in the mix to win it all." Oregon right now is, I think, breathing a similar air that those Kirby Smart teams were at Georgia, those Nick Saban teams were at Georgia, and that's a lofty comparison, so hear me very clearly. I don't really care about the lost production for them outside of the quarterback position. Like, that's kind of what you were saying with Georgia, right? You say, hey, who's the quarterback for Bama? Who's the quarterback on those Nick Saban teams? But the production you lost wherever you were from last year to this year, I wasn't really worried about it. Why? Because Oregon is in a spot now, those teams were in a spot where the kitchen was absolutely stocked. Oregon is 2 top 5 portal classes the last 2 years. Cool. The last three recruiting classes for Dan Lanning, all top 10. Cool. Last 2 of those recruiting classes are top 5. So you see what I'm saying here. The players are there for Oregon to be successful. But speaking to the reloading side of things, it's not just guys they're grabbing with a lot of stars next to their name. They're elite evaluators. We talked about Marshall Malco on a previous Hard Count episode. We were doing our GM All Access series and what he is for Oregon. Oregon, and this quote highlighted it, they're elite at grabbing guys that fit their system that are going to thrive in their system. And so the translation there, like I just said, they're not just chasing after your 4-star, your 5-star. I'm sure that they're probably, if they're grabbing guys like a DeCorian Moore, like a Dante Moore, like the rating probably has something to do with it. I don't think that the recruiting services are off base there when it comes to evaluating those guys at a high school level and beyond. But they have the roster that fits their standards and their approaches in Eugene. So we speak to what it's going to look like for Oregon in 2025, and I just said I don't worry about what you lost production-wise outside of quarterback. I don't worry about Oregon has a quarterback either. Like, how much have we heard around Dante Moore and what he's going to be in 2025? I have a ton of confidence in him because he's had a full year now to sit in that system under Dylan Gabriel, under Will Stein, and see how it's supposed to be done. Remember now, Bo Nix, when he was a Heisman finalist, he'd been at Oregon 2 years. It was his first year in Will Stein's system. Dylan Gabriel, same deal. Gets to Oregon, 1 year, Heisman finalist. Dante Moore has more experience than both those guys. And so, we're going to do a prediction show here in the not-too-distant future. It's going to be very difficult for me to say that Dante Moore is not going to be a Heisman finalist because of the Will Stein offense, because of the system, because of all those things. So you're telling me you got confidence in a quarterback because of his skill set and because of his time in that system where you don't have to reinvent the playbook, reinvent the system for him. You don't have to worry about what I just said, the production, or I shouldn't say the production, the talent around him replacing that production. I love everything about Oregon. And so I think there is maybe some concern in the college football world around Dan Lanning and how he handles coaching at the end of games, or at least there was before this last season. And I just want to say this. The Dan Lanning approach to late game coaching, if I were a player at Oregon, he coaches it exactly how I would hope my head coach would operate. Like the Washington game in 2023, I guess it was, he gets a lot of flack for because they went for 2 and they're going on for it on 4th down when maybe conventional wisdom would have said, well, hey, at that point, maybe just get the ball back to your defense, let them try and defend a longer field. I think Dan Lanning coaches to his players. I think he calls the game to his players with confidence in his guys to go get it done and go for the kill. Like we saw at the end of the Ohio State game last year when they came to Eugene. They're out there with 12 men on the field, kind of a little chess game from the folks in Eugene with how they called that thing at the end of the game. I love that from Dan Lanning. I think he coaches to win the football game. And so I understand now that there's some things that maybe you would have loved to see differently as he continues to elevate as a head coach. But, you look at Oregon, all they've done is elevate. All they've done every single year under Dan Lanning is get better. And so as we look at Oregon in the big picture, as long as he's the head coach there, they're going to recruit. They're going to have a culture that goes for the kill. They're going to have a coach that only gets better. I think it's a matter of when, not if they win a national championship. I've said that a few times, but I don't get tired of saying it. They will win a national title under Dan Lanning. Is it this year? I don't know. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, they will have at least one natty in Eugene, and it's because of how they recruit, how they rebuild, and this year should be no different with Dante Moore at quarterback. So that anonymous coach talking about Oregon being a reload kind of team, I get it. The returning production numbers don't look exactly how you would hope they look, but they're in that tier now with what Saban was at Bama, what Kirby's been at Georgia. I don't question the talent they have on that roster because of how they go about their business in the portal and now recruiting at the high school level. And they evaluate guys to fit their system. Make no mistake about that.